Ruben Amorim is now officially confirmed as the next Manchester United manager. His first game will be against Ipswich. He's bringing in new coaches. What is the plan? When's he coming in? Who's coming in? Is Ruud van Nistelrooy going to stay or go? What is the leaks going on about Ten Hag and what really went down in Ten Hag's tenure? And Ten Hag is also expected to do an interview to speak about what's gone down in his tenure. We'll get through the news on that, the transfer plans, the stories on Chokeres, and more. So hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. Please do go ahead and hit that like button if you have not already, and of course subscribe down below if you're new, as we get into this breaking news story, which, I mean, we say breaking news story. To be honest, we all expected it. We all knew it was coming. We knew for like 2 days that we've got Amar in now, but we've got him. We've got the details. United and Sporting set to do an official announcement later. But Laurie Whitwell, one of the best journalists in the Manchester United space, he's up there with Ornstein and Romano when it comes to the Manchester United news. He said Manchester United agree deal with Sporting for release of Ruben Amorim. Start date set for international break with fee of 11 million euros. Sporting wanted Amorim to stay for games versus Man City, Braga. United satisfied. Amorim expected to be in charge for Ipswich on November 24th. So to save 3 million, we have Ruud van Nistelrooy for probably 2 more games than they would have had him for. I don't think, even if we'd paid right away, I think his first game would have been the PAOK game in the Europa League, which all it means is we save 3 million. We have Ruud van Nistelrooy for 2 more games. He comes in the international break where he's going to then have 2 weeks to sort of get to know his players, get used to the style, speak to players, maybe look and do some research on United and suss everything out. So I'm absolutely okay with Ruben Amorim's first game being Ipswich after the international break. We've got Chelsea, we've got the PAOK team, and we've got Leicester. I'm more than happy for Ruud van Nistelrooy to manage those games. I mean, considering what he did in the first Leicester game, you know, we could be quite happy about it. And I think Amorim coming in for the City game would be really, not City game, for the Ipswich game is really, really good. Also, if we look at the fixture list here, we can see his first game is Ipswich, his second game is Bodo/Glimt, and his third game is Everton, which is 3 winnable games. His fourth game is Arsenal, which will be difficult, and fifth, which could be more difficult. 6th game, Victoria Pleasant. 7th game, City. 8th game, Tottenham. 9th game, Bournemouth. So he does have some difficult games, but I think he has 3 easy games to ease himself into Arsenal, to build some confidence. Forest, Victoria Pleasant, City, Tottenham, Bournemouth, and then Wolves, Newcastle, Liverpool, Southampton. But he's got a nice-ish run, 3 easy games, a middle game and a harder game. But I think that's quite a good run for a manager to come into. Guys, let me know your thoughts on Amorim down below in this appointment. I do have concerns. There is similarities between his Sporting side and Ten Hag's Ajax, and Ten Hag wasn't able to translate that to the Premier League. But I'm also really excited at the same time because it's a good manager. Sin is the next chosen one. He's done unbelievable things at Sporting Lisbon. You know, Benfica and Porto have been the powerhouses in Portugal. They've got more money than Sporting, and Sporting were sort of at their worst, at their lowest point, hadn't won a title in 19 years. And Amorim comes in and he makes such a difference to that Sporting side, and hopefully he can now translate that to Manchester United. David Ornstein has now also, guys, just announced, as I'm speaking right now, David Ornstein has also just announced Ruben Amorim to Manchester United. So it is happening, further confirmation. I know people have had doubts, even though we had the Romano Here We Go a few days ago. I know some people are saying, you know, are you sure it's done? Like, where's the announcement and stuff? But there was just final details that need to be agreed on as well. So let's dive into the next bit of information coming in. So it was said by Chris Reader that Ruben Amroim will not be available to join Man United until after international break November 10th, which means Van Nistelrooy is temporary manager for 3 more games. Amroim is expected to bring his own backroom staff to United, which includes Carlos Fernandez, Adelea Candido, and Emmanuel Ferro as a goalkeeper coach, and George Vital as a sports scientist. Paulo Vieira, absolutely messed that up. As well as goalkeeper coach George Vital and sports scientist Paulo Barrera, if I'm saying that right. Amorim is set to sign a 2.5-year contract with an option for a 12-month extension worth 6.5 million a year. So this is who's coming to United: assistant Carlos Fernandez, Adeleo Candido, and Emmanuel Ferrero, goalkeeping coach George Vital, and sports scientist Paulo Barrera. So we've got the whole team coming in with Amorim. Ineos really ready to back him and give him what he wants. And I will say of Amorim, there's a lot of differences he'll need to make. The players have not been good enough. They've thrown manager after manager under the bus. It's going to take time. It's not going to be perfect right away. We're not going to be playing amazing football, but I expect to see improvement. I expect to see midfield structure. I expect to see players utilised right. And I expect to see a smile on some of the players' faces. I feel some of the players didn't play for Ten Hag, and they should have played for Ten Hag, but they didn't. And the smile's been lifted on them since he's gone. Anyway, talking of two players that I think could thrive under Amorim and shine now Ten Hag is gone, because I think while the midfield had some question marks around it, I do think a lot of it was on Erik Ten Hag and the structure around Manchester United. But it has been said by the Muppeteers that apparently United scored 12 goals and only conceded 2 in the 2 matches with Ugarte and Casemiro starting together. So we've played 2 games with Ugarte and Casemiro in the pivot together, and it seems to be working well. I think Ugarte's last 2 starts for United have been fantastic. He's really impressed me in his last 2 or 3 games for United. So it was really weird that Ten Hag then had 3 Premier League games, but he didn't give him any minutes. Yes, he was poor in the Tottenham game, but you take away the Tottenham game and the moments that we seen Ugarte play, he was very good. Yesterday, him and Casemiro were probably the 2 best players on the pitch. Yes, it is Leicester. It's a weekend Leicester side. It's a Carabao Cup game. But, you know, you can only judge what's in front of you. And I liked that the midfield looked so much better, had so much more structure to it. Continuing on, let's get into some leaks and stories about Erik Ten Hag. Ineos were told during conversations with the recruitment team that many of Ten Hag's transfer demands were unrealistic. Ten Hag insisted that they had to sign Antony, Lisandro Martinez and Casemiro in part because they were strong characters who were vital to a deal with the dressing room, which was a mess post-Rangnick. Antony and Martinez demanded Ajax let them go. Martinez at one point argued directly with an Ajax official over a move to United, which impressed Ten Hag and Mercer. So they're saying that Ten Hag insisted we had to sign Antony, Leitcher and Casemiro, apparently. Now, Ten Hag insisted we had to sign De Jong. I think the board got Casemiro because we couldn't get De Jong. Antony was on Ten Hag and that's who he wanted because they offered Gakpo, and Leitcher was on Ten Hag. I think they'll try and blame the bad signings on Ten Hag, the board of always, but I think it was a mixture of things. John Mercer, at the end of the day, Ten Hag wanted Antony, but any competent sporting director, Dan Ash, would have said, it's over 40 million, we're walking away. John Mercer was the idiot stupid enough to pay £85 million for Antony. And while Ten Hag wanted Antony and wanted Mason Mount, at the end of the day, he wasn't the one that paid the crazy fee on them. John Mercer did that. And that's why we needed Dan Ashworth, Berardo and Wilcox to come in to hopefully avoid that in the future. It was said, and I don't like this bit, Ronaldo was initially ordered to train away from the first team, but when he tried to enter the dressing room to retrieve a pair of trainers, he was told by staff he wasn't allowed in. The standoff only ended when Ronaldo enlisted an academy player to go in the dressing room for him, with a number of senior players viewing that as a blanket ban and unnecessarily humiliation. And I agree with that. Look, I think that Ronaldo shouldn't have gone on Piers Morgan. I think Ronaldo did not act particularly professionally and needed to be punished. But if Ten Hag's doing petty things like not letting him walk in the dressing room to get a pair of shoes, then it is just looking like he's trying to humiliate Ronaldo and make a point out of it. And I don't totally agree with that. I think as much as I like Ronaldo, he had to go because of the Piers Morgan interview and everything that went on. But there's definitely a lot coming out about how Ten Hag managed big names. You know, he's had issues with Varane reportedly, Casemiro reportedly. Obviously, Ronaldo was a big one. Sancho was a big one. He's had obvious problems with big players and seems to not be able to discipline the big name players or fall out with them because he does little things that are seen as petty. And I do feel that the players sort of fell out with Ten Hag towards the end here this season. And while I think the Ronaldo situation, he had to be strict with it and make a point, this kind of stuff is very, very silly. Continuing on, it was said that it was Erik Ten Hag's decision to give Mason Mount the number 7 shirt. And I do feel like this piece from Rob Dawson is more of a hit piece on Ten Hag, probably coming out from Man United people to say, you know, Ten Hag's the reason Mason Mount got number 7, because no one knows why Mason Mount not got number 7. It was a silly decision. I would have given Mason Mount 7, and I actually wouldn't have given Garnacho 7 either. Garnacho hadn't done enough for me at that point to get the 7. I would have left the 7 until someone has done enough to deserve it, which could be Garnacho at the end of this season. But yeah, Mason Mount being given the number 7 shirt, I think, was to try and make the transfer more exciting and raise shirt sales, and that didn't happen because he was always injured. So what's Ten Hag going to say on his exit? Because there's a lot of news coming out on Ten Hag and leaks that he won't like. So I'm sure Ten Hag's going to be doing an exit interview, and that has been said. Manchester United's decision to part ways with Erik Ten Hag was no surprise, though the timing reportedly came as a surprise to Ten Hag. I guess because he felt that, you know, the West Ham loss wasn't really on him. It said sources close to Ten Hag indicate he was caught off guard by the abrupt nature to his exit, weirdly. And in the coming weeks, Ten Hag is expected to conduct an in-depth interview with Dutch media where he'll likely shed light on his experience and what happened behind the scenes at Old Trafford, which I'm interesting to know. There was player beef. There's, you know, if the journalists ask the right questions, it'll be interesting to see what happened behind the scenes. Of course, this will be from Ten Hag's perspective, but I do think while Ten Hag had to be sacked and while Ten Hag had to go, there was probably a lot going on behind the scenes that didn't help him. And last but not least, in regards to transfer news, it was said that Manchester United are interested in Giovanni Quenda. United scouts were present at the game against Fama. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. So watch him. He's a player at Sporting. Now Amorim will be further linked to him. Really, really good young winger, next Rafael Leao kind of player. And then it was also said we're not in the race for Gyökeres. It's a matter of waiting to see what happens with Amorim. I think because Højlund's got so many similar characteristics to Gyökeres, Amorim may look to invest in wing-back, centre-back, midfield before he would look for another striker. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down below on all the latest news and Manchester United stories. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.